Good morning, students. Today we will discuss the last topic of this lesson, organic chemistry, for class 11th. Then the topic is qualitative analysis of organic compounds. In this topic we will discuss how can we detect the presence of carbon, hydrogen and other atoms like oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus, sulfur, halogen, etc. In the organic compounds. So first we will take up the detection of carbon and hydrogen. Now for that, carbon and hydrogen are detected by heating the compound with copper 2 oxide. Carbon present in the compound is oxidized to carbon dioxide. That can be tested with lime water, because lime water turns milky by the presence in the presence of carbon dioxide, and hydrogen will get converted to water. That can be tested with anhydrous copper sulfate, which turn blue. Now you can see the reactions. Carbon, when it reacts with the copper 2 oxide, it will get converted to copper and carbon dioxide is released. Then this hydrogen will get converted to water, and again next reaction is carbon dioxide. When passed through lime water, it turns milky due to the formation of calcium carbonate. Now detection of other elements like nitrogen, sulfur, halogen and phosphorus present in the organic compound, they can be detected by Lassane's test. Now the elements present in the compounds are converted from covalent into the ionic form. Like you can see, carbon and nitrogen react with sodium metal, they form sodium cyanide. Then sulfur react with sodium to form sodium sulfide, and halogen react with sodium to form sodium halide. Then test for nitrogen, the sodium fusion extract or the Lassane extract is boiled with iron 2 sulfate and then acidified with concentrated sulfuric acid. The formation of Prussian blue color confirms the presence of nitrogen. You can see in the white box, you can see the reactions, how it reacts with the iron 2 sulfate. Cyanide reacts with iron 2 sulfate and they form the Prussian blue color compound. Sodium cyanide first react with iron 2 sulfate and form sodium hexacyanoferrate. Then on heating with concentrated sulfuric acid, some iron 2 ions are oxidized to iron 3 ions. It means Fe2 gets converted to Fe3 positive, which react with sodium hexacyanoferrate to produce iron 3 hexacyanoferrate 2, that is the ferriferrocyanide, which is a Prussian blue in color. Then the test for sulfur, for that sodium fusion extract is acidified with acetic acid, and then lead acetate is added to it, and a black precipitate lead to the black precipitate of lead sulfide indicates the presence of sulfur. So you can see the reaction, how it reacts sulfur form lead sulfide. On treating sodium fusion extract with sodium nitroprusside, appearance of violet color further indicates the presence of sulfur. In case of nitrogen and sulfur, both are present in an organic compound. Then sodium thiocyanate is formed. It gives blood red color when test for nitrogen is performed, and no Prussian blue color, which are so free cyanidine. So blood red color formation indicates the presence of both nitrogen and sulfur in the organic compound. Now the test for halogens, the sodium fusion extract is acidified with nitric acid and then treated with silver nitrate. A white precipitate soluble in ammonium hydroxide shows the presence of chlorine. Yellow precipitate sparingly soluble in ammonium hydroxide show the presence of bromine, and a yellow precipitate insoluble in ammonium hydroxide shows the presence of iodine. This is how we can test the halogens. Now if nitrogen or sulfur is also present in the compound, the sodium fusion extract is first boiled with concentrated nitric acid to decompose cyanide or sulfide of sodium formed during the Lassane's test. These ions would otherwise interfere with the silver nitrate test for the halogens. so we have to take precaution for that. Now test for phosphorus. The compound is heated with oxidizing agent, that is sodium peroxide. The phosphorus present in the compound is oxidized to phosphate. The solution is boiled with nitric acid and then treated with ammonium molybdate. A yellow color precipitate indicates the presence of phosphate. So these are the reactions involved in this. Next, that is quantitative analysis. How much amount of carbon, hydrogen and other atoms like oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur, halogens, etc. are present in the organic compound. Quantity wise, how can we measure? That is a quantitative analysis. A known mass of an organic compound is burnt in the presence of excess of oxygen and carbon dioxide. Carbon and hydrogen in the compound are oxidized to carbon dioxide and water respectively. Now the mass of water produced is determined by passing the mixture through a Wade U tube containing anhydrous calcium chloride that will absorb water and become hydrated. From that we can calculate the weight of water formed. Then carbon dioxide is absorbed in another U tube containing concentrated solution of potassium hydroxide. So from there we can get the amount of carbon dioxide formed. The increase in mass of calcium chloride and potassium hydroxide give the amount of water and carbon dioxide, from which the percentage of carbon and hydrogen they are calculated. Now this is the setup for the apparatus for the quantitative analysis of carbon and hydrogen. So percentage of carbon can be calculated 12 into m2 into 100 upon 44 into m, where m is the mass of the organic compound and m2 is the mass of carbon dioxide. So if we want to calculate the percentage of hydrogen, it is 2 into m1 into 100 upon 18 into m. Here again m is the mass of organic compound and m1 is the mass of water formed during the reaction. Now estimation of nitrogen. We have two methods for estimation of nitrogen. One is Dumas method and other is Geldahl's method. For Dumas method, nitrogen containing organic compound when heated with copper oxide in an atmosphere of carbon dioxide, it yields the free nitrogen in addition to carbon dioxide and water. Traces of nitrogen oxides, if they formed, they are reduced to nitrogen by passing the gaseous mixture over a heated copper gauze. The mixture of gases so produced is collected over the aqueous solution of potassium hydroxide, which absorbs carbon dioxide, and nitrogen is collected in the upper part of the graduated tube. So this is the setup for the Dumas method. You can see this. Now Dumas method, the organic compound yield nitrogen gas on heating it with copper oxide in the presence of carbon dioxide gas. The mixture of gases is collected over potassium hydroxide solution in which carbon dioxide is absorbed and the volume of nitrogen gas is determined. Now Geldahl's method, the compound containing nitrogen is heated with concentrated sulfuric acid. The nitrogen in the compound get converted to ammonium sulfate. After treating the compound with the concentrated sulfuric acid, the nitrogen gets converted into ammonium sulfate. The resulting acid mixture is then heated with excess of sodium hydroxide. The liberated ammonia gas is absorbed in an excess of standard solution of sulfuric acid. The amount of ammonia produced is determined by estimating the amount of sulfuric acid consumed in the reaction. Then it is done by estimating unreacted sulfuric acid left after the absorption of ammonia by titrating it with the standard alkali solution. Alkali, we take sodium hydroxide solution. The difference between the initial amount of acid taken and the left after the reaction gives the amount of acid reacted with ammonia. So this is the experimental setup. This is the apparatus for the Geldahl's method. So in this nitrogen containing compound is treated with sulfuric acid to get ammonium sulfate, which liberates ammonia. On treating with sodium hydroxide, ammonia absorbed is taken known volume So ammonia is absorbed in known volume of standard acid solution, sulfuric acid solution. Then is the estimation of halogens. The halogens can be estimated by the Carius method, and it is a Carius tube. This is the a tube in which the estimation of halogens is done. The compound is heated with the fuming nitric acid in the presence of silver nitrate, contained in a hard glass tube known as the Carius tube in a furnace. Carbon and hydrogen present in the compound are oxidized to carbon dioxide and water, and the halogen present in the corresponding silver halide, the halogen present that gets converted to silver halide. It is filtered, washed, dried, and then weighed. And for the calculations, how can we calculate the percentage of halogen? If mass of organic compound is M, then mass of silver halide is M1, and 1 mole of silver halide contain 1 mole of halogen. So how can we calculate the percentage of halogen? Atomic mass of halogen, it can be chlorine, bromine, iodine into M1 into 100 upon molecular mass of the silver halide into M, where M is the mass of the organic compound taken. Now the estimation of sulfur. A known mass of organic compound is heated in a Carius tube with sodium peroxide or fuming nitric acid. Sulfur present in it get oxidized to sulfuric acid. It is precipitated as barium sulfate by adding barium chloride solution to water. It means after the sulfur is oxidized to sulfuric acid, then we add barium chloride, and then that get converted to barium sulfate. The precipitate is filtered, washed, dried, and weighed. The percentage of sulfur can be calculated as percentage of sulfur is 32, that is the molecular mass of sulfur, 32 into M1 into 100 upon 233 into M, where M is the mass of the organic compound, M1 is the mass of barium sulfate formed, and 233 is the molecular mass of barium sulfate. Then estimation of phosphorus. A known mass of organic compound is heated with fuming nitric acid, whereupon phosphorus present in the compound is oxidized to phosphoric acid. So it is precipitated as ammonium phosphonyl it is ammonium phosphomolybdate by adding ammonia and ammonium molybdate. Now alternate method can be used. Phosphoric acid may be precipitate by adding magnesia mixture, which on ignition yield this Mg2P2O7. Now if the mass of organic compound is m gram, the mass of ammonium phosphomolybdate is m1 gram, and molar mass of ammonium phosphomolybdate is 1877 gram, then the percentage of phosphorus can be calculated in these two ways: 31 into m1 into 100 upon 1877 into m, or another method, alternatively it can be 62 into m1. 31 is the molecular mass of phosphorus, so it is 62 into m1 into 100 upon 222 into m. Here it is Mg2P2, that's why we have written 62 here. So next is the estimation of oxygen. The percentage of oxygen in an organic compound is usually found by difference between the total percentage composition and the sum of the percentage of all other elements. However, oxygen can be estimated directly. The first is a definite mass of an organic compound is decomposed by heating in a stream of nitrogen. Secondly, the mixture of gaseous product containing oxygen is passed over red hot coke when all oxygen get converted to carbon monoxide, and then the mixture is passed through warm iodine pentoxide when carbon monoxide is oxidized to carbon dioxide, producing iodine. So these are the reactions for the estimation of oxygen. Now each mole of oxygen liberated from the compound will produce 2 moles of carbon dioxide. Thus 88 grams of carbon dioxide is obtained if 32 grams oxygen is liberated. So if m is the mass of the organic compound taken, then the mass of carbon dioxide produced is m1 gram. Then we can calculate the percentage of oxygen as 32 into m1 into 100 upon 88 into m. That will give you the percentage of oxygen. So this is all about today's topic. Bye bye everyone. Take good care of yourself.